Guys, welcome back to the Zeke Said So YouTube channel. So I wanted to do this video as regards to explaining why have I been absent on the YouTube channel as of late. And the truth is, there's many different reasons as to why you haven't been seeing a lot of videos. Mainly because I've been very busy with a lot of things going on in my personal life, but also a lot of things going on just with Zeke Said So as a whole. You know, I've been working on getting a short film made. In fact, I have plans to start shooting that short film within the year of 2021. For those of you who saw my Instagram, I think I've shared this on my Instagram story at least. But for those of you who saw it, yes, I am working on a short film, and I am going to I'll give you more details on the film itself when maybe that's what my next video will be about. But I wanted to take this video to kind of tell you about the podcast, because a lot of people who seem to be subscribed to the channel may not know but that I have started a podcast. I've promoted it a couple times on the YouTube channel, but you know, we've been doing very good as far as numbers goes, and as far as listeners. It is available where any podcast can be found. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. It's there and available for you guys. In fact, actually, I'm gonna bring this up right here. I do indeed have it on my Spotify. Right there it is. For those of you, I think hopefully it can. Okay, yep, there it goes. But I am, you know, I've been working on that. You know, the podcast is basically where I've been doing all my movie reviews, movie news stuff. In fact, one of my most recent episodes is a show. I got a brand new show on my podcast called the Web Swingers Podcast. If you go on the Zeke Said So podcast feed and look up the Web Swingers Podcast, you'll see that image right there. That image right there. But there's just so many other shows we got on the podcast feed. There's Avatar The After Show, which just had its season finale. Throwback Thursday, which, you know, after I finish recording this video, I'm going to record that episode of Throwback Thursday, new episode of Throwback Thursday, which is also going to have its season finale pretty soon. We have the Web Swingers Podcast, where it's all Marvel / Spider-Man based news, you know, Marvel television shows or Spider-Man movie news and stuff like that, you know. And it's also more interactive. The podcast is meant to be more interactive for you guys, you know. Whereas the YouTube channel, yes, it's very interactive. You guys can choose to comment and leave a comment there, but it is also meant. But the podcast is more of an interactive thing because you guys send in questions and I answer them, and it just feels more like I'm talking to you. It feels way more like I'm talking to you guys rather than just me sitting in front of a camera for about 10 to 20 minutes just rambling on, you know. But there's that. Also on the podcast feed, if you go to Anchor, if you go to, let me bring it up here. If you go to the link in any description of the podcast, of any of my podcasts, you'll see that the sponsor, which, you know, the podcast is sponsored by Anchor Podcast, but you'll also see a link to support the podcast. You can choose, if you click this link, if you click the second link, I don't know if you can see that. Focus up. If you see that second link right there, you click it. Let's click it, and it almost works almost like the Patreon. It almost works just like the Patreon, where you contribute, and you can basically you know. And for those who do that, what I'm gonna start doing for those who do, I'm gonna start giving you guys shout outs every week. You know, so every week you'll hear some supporter's name. In fact, I have one really great supporter, you know, who constantly supports the podcast, and it's very generous, you know. And you guys don't have to, you know. I'm just it's just something that I'm bringing out there. It's just as a way to kind of promote the podcast a little bit, because the podcast I'm gonna be doing more on it. I feel like this camera is just zooming in constantly. Okay. By the way, mummy poster. But the podcast is basically my way of kind of it's more of the direction where Zeke Said So as far as the movie news and movie reviews is going. I know when I started this YouTube channel, I was doing all movie reviews and all movie news stuff, and that's why a lot of you guys subscribe to it. But I think as far as the YouTube channel goes, I'm going to take this more in a direction of filming skits, short films, vlogs, you know. In fact, my next video, I'm going to talk to you guys about the short film that I'm going to be filming next year, you know. So you know, and, you know, just a lot is happening, you know. And I know a lot of you guys have sent me messages. For those of you who don't listen to the podcast, you guys are constantly asking, well, where can I find you? I mean, I can't find any videos on your YouTube channel. Well, it's because I'm putting a lot of time and energy into the podcast. Because for one, it's much easier for me to make those podcasts, but also it's just, I feel like, better as far as doing long form content. Because one of the things I would always get whenever I would do movie reviews is that they just go on too long. You know, I would do like 10 or 15 minute movie reviews, you know, and with the podcast I could get away with longer form content. I can, you know, we've done shows where we've gone on for almost 2 hours, you know. So, you know, it is what it is. But you guys can, you know, just find the podcast feed. You can find it on wherever podcasts can be found. It can be found on. In fact, let me read off all of the. I'm going to read off all of the places where you can find the Zeke Said So podcast feed. That way, you guys can come on and join us on this journey as we kind of just talk about the best parts about movies and movie news and stuff like that. So the Zeke Said So podcast feed can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. So you can find my show, the Zeke Said So show. Also, because the Zeke Said So podcast feed, we got 4 shows on there. It is the Zeke Said So show, which is the main show. We have Avatar the After Show. We have Throwback Thursday and the Web Swingers podcast. All 4 shows that are available for you guys to listen to. And we're going to be adding more shows. So definitely go and support the podcast. And yeah. And you can stay subscribed to the YouTube channel. Because again, I'm going to be doing more videos on here. Now that I have personally a lot more time on my hands, I got a lot of time on my hands, so I'm gonna be doing more videos. You know, you guys will see. In fact, my next video, I'm gonna talk to you guys about the short film. I'm gonna give you a little pieces of information on what it is and what it's gonna be about, and I'm gonna announce some pretty big stuff. You know, so just stay tuned, and yeah, I guess that will do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want, check out the podcast. The link to the feed will be in the description below. But again, you can find it wherever. You don't have to click the link. You can literally just go on Spotify, type up the Zeke Said So podcast, and you'll find it. There will be a link to the podcast feed if you like. There's also going to be a link to the Patreon for those of you who want to become Patreon supporters today. Definitely do that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace out.